Body stock car road racing action opened along the Gulf shores of Florida. St. Petersburg welcomed the teams and drivers of the Trans Am Championship to a wintertime respite of speed. From the moment the green fell, it was obvious to all that this year's title season would be just as dramatic as 1996. The first to learn that 97 would be no picnic, defending series champion Tommy Kendall. An early race spin caused the driver of the all-sport Ford to go to the back of the pack. Then his traditional nemesis, Dorsey Schrader, would also feel the sting of fortune gone awry. His Ray Vestas Mustang breaks an axle on a restart. The man deemed most likely to unseat Kendall from the throne had suffered a definite setback. He'd finish 11th. Meantime, like a warm knife through butter, a determined TK was charging to the front. In only 5 laps, he had gotten back to 10th. But waiting for him up front was Paul Gentilozzi, the lead Chevrolet this day and the race leader for much of the contest. His 5-car performed flawlessly until lap 55 of 60, where he spun at exactly the same place he did in 96, thereby allowing the still recovering Kendall to claim both the comeback award of the day and the checkered flag. A disappointed Gentilozzi, a frustrated Schrader, and a jubilant Kendall now are pointing toward round 2. Moving from the sun coast of Florida to the Valley of the Sun in Arizona and Phoenix International Raceway, home of the Chevy Trucks Desert Star Classic. North America's most prestigious road racing series comes west. Next on TNN. For the past 3 years, these mountains have resounded with the roar of full-throated V8s battling for desert dominance. Each spring has brought the return of the Trans Am Championship Series here to the desert for some terrific motorsports competition. Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Benjamin. Welcome to our coverage of the Chevy Trucks Desert Star Classic. Now, that combination of early season eagerness and a very unique course layout has given us some terrific competition these last couple of years. We have every reason to think that the same will hold true today. Right, David Hobbs?
Thanks, Rick. As you can see from the map, a very tough, demanding little track, very difficult to set a car up. You got slow hairpins, you got fast sweepers, and unusual for Trans Am cars, at the east end of the oval part of the track, you've got the bank turn. So not an easy track to race on. But it brought the best out in the drivers last year, because in the 30-year history of Trans Am, we had more passes for the lead last year than any other race but one in that whole 30-year history. And most of that passing went on right where I'm standing at now. Behind me, a 180-degree corner. Slow entry, second or even first gear. Short shift, third, fourth. You've got to have a really good exit off that corner behind me, because you want to stay with your victim down this short chute that I'm on now, because all the overtaking is going to go on the final hairpin as they go back onto the oval part of the track down there. Dorsey Schrader did that really well last year. Now let's join the third member of our broadcast team, Derek Daly, who's with the Cars and Drivers.
Every Trans Am weekend, the man that everybody sets their sights firmly on is Tommy Kendall. If you're anywhere in the ballpark close to him, you know you got a competitive car. But Tommy, at St. Petersburg, you won it, but you were lucky. But does it matter, really?
St. Pete was a perfect example where, you know, we had the car to beat all weekend, but it wasn't the speed, outright speed, that won it for us. You know, we were fortunate. We came back from some problems early in the race, but we really got fortunate with a lot of things going our way.
Indeed, speed, but consistency is also a winner of a championship. And the man who came so close last year to winning the championship is Dorsey Schrader. Dorsey, so good here at Phoenix last year. Can you do the same again?
Well, I hope so. It doesn't look like they're going to make it any easier than it was last year. You know, that was one of the best races I ever ran. You know, if we can come ahead on this thing, I need to after that disappointing run at the beginning of the year. Yeah, I think we can do it.
And the man, of course, who will carry Chevrolet's hopes is right down here. Paul Gentilozzi, you almost won St. Pete. Now, you got to have luck on your side, but do you have the tools to do it here at Phoenix?
Well, I was about 5 minutes short of brain power at St. Petersburg. We've recovered from that, and I really believe that the aerodynamic balance of the Camaro will give it an advantage here at Phoenix. You have to get the car through the banking without hurting the tires, and we're not doing that.
So, Rick, yet again, it is Ford versus Chevrolet here in Trans Am Racing.
All right, thank you, Derek Daly. We'll see how it plays out coming up in just a couple of moments. Our classic, 18 of these road racing stock cars set to carry their drivers to the green in a few moments. The motorized brawl that is the Trans Am Championship. Well, before we go racing today, let's rejoin David Hobbs with this week's SCCA Trans Am Paddock Report.
Before the first race at St. Petersburg, John Gooding was really hoping to do well because, of course, it was a home crowd. Second place, though, John, was absolutely magnificent. What about that place?
Oh, I tell you what, it was great. I mean, St. Pete, living in Orlando, is as close as it gets for a hometown race to me, and to finish 1-2 there, what a way to start the year.
What about the second race here in Phoenix?
Oh, I tell you, we've been out testing in Firebird this week, and we've been going fast here, so we could have a good race this weekend, too.
Down in the Autolink Highwaymaster team with two of the undoubted heroes from the first race in St. Petersburg. One of those guys, of course, is a hero of mine. Anyway, Greg Pickett, you had to start in 24th position because of a snafu on the tires. You still ended up 4th. What about here in Phoenix?
Well, I don't know if we're going to make up 20 places here or not, David. We just had a little bit of a mess up with brakes and stuff at that track for the first time out. Got us to both flat spot tires, big mistake, starting the back, but we were happy with ended up 4th and 5th. Very proud of my teammate here, did a heck of a job.
His teammate Bill Saunders, in fact, did do a magnificent job. Bill, you started 25th and came up to 5th, your best ever Trans Am finish. What about here at Phoenix?
Well, I think we're going to be good. It looks like we're picking up some grip, and I think we're going to be just as good as we were last race.
In 1995, in car number 93, Dino Crescentini sat on the pole here for this race, but during the race he had this big incident with Jamie Gallus. In 1997, he returns in car 15 with a new paint job, probably so that Jamie Gallus won't recognize him, but Dino is also back for the full season for the first time.
Not just a new paint job, actually a new car entirely. Yeah, we're back here for the full season. We're going to give them a run for their money. So.
What about this race at Phoenix itself?
The car seems to be working really well this weekend. I'm looking forward to a very good race. We really want to stick around to see the checkered flag, and that's really the focus here.
And that's the SCCA Paddock Report.
And let's take a look at our starting lineup today at Phoenix for round 2 of the 1997 SCCA Trans Am Championship. Tommy Kendall was fast qualifier this weekend. He drew the #1 starting spot in the All-Sport Ford. He'll line up alongside Brian Simo, car number 22 out of the Gloy shops. That's the Valvoline Mustang.
On the second row, we have Michael Lewis for his best ever qualifying anywhere in Trans Am, and alongside him, the winner of last year, Dorsey Schrader in the Gloy Mustang.
Third row will be John Gooding, who had that nice second place at St. Pete. Young Mike Borkowski on the Gloy team, the Textron Ford. He'll line up in the 6th spot.
And row 4 is the two brothers, Greg Pickett in the number 6 car, and Bill Saunders, who out-qualified Greg Pickett here at Phoenix.
First two Chevrolets in the lineup today. 5th row will have Crescentini in the Camaro. We met him a moment ago. And Leighton Reese from Minnesota in his Pontiac Grand Prix, the 66.
Row 6 is Paul Gentilozzi. He actually ran very quick yesterday in qualifying, but he had an engine problem, so they put him back in 11th on the grid, and alongside him is the number 7 car of R.J. Valentine.
7th row here this afternoon will shape up this way. Max Lagarde, the defending Rookie of the Year, the Hypermax Chevrolet. And Bob Ruman in car number 23, the Senwell Camaro.
On row 8, we have Jim Briody, and alongside him is Jim McGuire.
And the final row today, the 90 of Jim McGuire, and the 70, the Entrepreneur Magazine car of Peter Shea. So 18 cars ready to do battle here in just a moment. Round 2 of the 1997 SCCA Trans Am Championship about ready to get going. We'll be back to take you to the green here at PIR in just a moment. International Raceway, Rick Benjamin, David Hobbs, Derek Daly with you this afternoon for the SCCA Trans Am Championship. One race complete at St. Petersburg back in February, and we'll take a look at the point standings. The winner, Kendall, the point leader. Gooding and Gentilozzi tied for second. Gentilozzi had that race, we thought, almost in the bag, David, before spinning with 5 to go. And Pickett and Saunders rounding out the top 5. We're going to be riding with a couple of the competitors today who we expect to do very well. Greg Pickett in car number 6 will carry one of our in-car cameras, and he'll be starting back in the 4th row today. He and his teammate Saunders, the first Chevrolets in our starting lineup today. And we'll also have cameras on board today with one of the other competitors. As we take a look inside Greg Pickett's automobile, he'll line up in the 8th spot. Career leader in Trans Am starts today. And Dorsey Schrader will carry one of our onboard cameras as well. Dorsey lining up in the 2nd row outside. He'll start in the 4th spot. He is the defending race winner here today on the Ray Vastus Ford. We'll have a couple of looks out of the 12 car today as we get ready to take the green. David, you pointed out a moment ago, it's clouded over a little bit here, which should cool things down on the racetrack quite a bit.
It will cool things down a little bit, which for the guys who aren't set up quite so well will be good.
Michael Lewis in the 55, one of the more interesting stories here this weekend. In fact, qualifying 3rd. He'll start in the Fast 5. Earlier, Derek Daly spoke with Mike.
Well, if you think you can battle against the factories, here's living proof you can. Mike Lewis, a small private team, Mike, to qualify 3rd, you have to be delighted.
Yeah, it was a great effort by the guys. As you say, we are amateurs, and hey, if we can get a couple more places up, we're going to be real happy.
Michael Lewis will line up in the 3rd spot today, so he'll have a great vantage point. Now, Paul Gentilozzi had qualified 5th quickest. He was fastest yesterday in the final practice session, but David, he's got to go to 11th spot on the grid because they changed the motor late in the going yesterday.
And of course, that's part of the qualifying rules with Trans Am, that if you change anything after qualifying, you go back. And he's back in 11th, and behind him is Johnny Miller there in the 64 car, who changed his tires after qualifying, so he too has been put right to the back of the field.
Gentilozzi lines up 11th. Miller with a Rocket Sports chassis under him. He is also a very strong contender. We'll see how he does today here at Phoenix as well. Let's go pit side. Derek Daly.
With Tom Gloy, whose car driven by Dorsey Schrader took a superb win last year. Tom, do you learn anything last year that could actually help you during this year's event?
Yeah, Derek, I think what we learned is that it's extremely hard on tires here. And as you know, being a former driver, we need the drivers to pace themselves. And you know, when you're racing with somebody, it's awfully hard to pace yourself. So there's every chance that we'll have a tire change, you know, unless a guy can try to make it to the end. We'll just see what happens.
67 laps to go, 100 miles today at Phoenix. Glad to have you with us for the SCCA Trans Am. Kendall in the black car on the pole. Brian Simo on the outside of row 1. We're green and going down into turn 1, and Kendall has the early lead.
Kendall takes the lead into turn 1. Everybody very careful. Whoa, there up, and Johnny Miller got up into the grass. They're going into the corner, goes round the outside of a couple of cars, going very fast there at the back of the pack there, which is very good. Changing those tires. Tony Kendall in the meantime streams away as the cars run through that right-hand turn 3.
Dorsey Schrader riding in 3rd spot now. Brian Simo, his teammate, is 2nd behind Kendall. You can see the Valvoline colors there. He draws up alongside Kendall as they come off the keyhole corner, but Tommy's able to hold Simo back. Dorsey is 3rd as the leaders head up the short straightaway to turn 9. They'll be taking to the oval here at PIR in a moment. And Greg Pickett is off course. Pickett with early problems in the 6 car. He has spun coming out of the keyhole. One of our onboard cameras riding with Greg today in the Autolink Highwaymaster Chevrolet. Pickett back on course, but he comes back in 18th spot behind the entire field. So
my
Pickett
hero
up to
spinning.
speed. Yeah.
Oh my goodness me.
Let's show you one more time what happened to Greg Pickett on the opening lap here today as we watch the leaders and we look back at the keyhole.
Looks like he just lost it all on his own. Locked it up and got into the dirt, so that's got a lot of dirt and dust on his tires now. It's going to take a lap or so to wear that off, although the tires, of course, weren't up to racing temperature, so they weren't at their full stickiness.
1 lap complete. Tommy Kendall is your leader. Brian Simo in the 22 car is 2nd. We look back at Michael Lewis riding 4th behind Dorsey Schrader. Lewis in the 55. That's a former Dorsey Schrader automobile. In fact, that's a Riley and Scott chassis, a couple of years old, out of the Gloy shops purchased there. Top 2 cars continue to be Kendall and Simo. And this is Pickett now. Pickett getting back underway after spinning a moment ago. We'll show you from his machine what happened here.
Just looped it very gently, didn't hit anything, but got it onto that Phoenix desert and dirt there, so kicked up a lot of dust that's going to get under the hood and hopefully won't damage the car at all in any way, but it's going to take a couple of laps to wear that off.
Would that be a case of where his tires might have been cold, David?
Probably, yeah, exactly. He's trying too hard for that 180-degree corner, the one we were talking about at the beginning of the show, which is so important. Tommy Kendall still holds off Brian Simo. Dorsey Schrader dropping back just a little bit. Michael Lewis there back in 4th spot. He's also dropped back quite a bit, but John Gooding can't seem to do much about it.
Gooding rides 5th. He's Kendall's teammate in the number 16 Mustang out of the Roush shops. We'll show you the Mountain Dew car a little bit later on. Simo in the Valvoline 22. Young driver who's really made some great strides the last couple of years. He's dogging Kendall for all he's worth as they come up through the short straightaway, up through the keyhole, and heading toward turn 9.
Of course, Tommy Kendall just may be sucking him in here. Tommy Kendall, vastly more experienced really than Brian Simo. And of course, the tires are going to take a beating here. There's no doubt about it. He who can play his tires best is going to be best off. Look at this race. Paul Gentilozzi is up to 7th now. He's challenging Gooding and Mike Borkowski.
Gentilozzi very fast. Those Rocket Sports Chevrolet motors always put out tremendous power. We watched Paul notch a flag-to-flag win at Mossport a year ago, May. Here he is to the inside of Gooding on the main straightaway. Gentilozzi down into 1, decides to hold back just a little bit. Gentilozzi started 11th. He's up to 6th here in the early going at Phoenix. We're 3 laps into the books.
Wow, getting close there to nudging John Gooding as they go to that tight turn 2 through this right-hand sweep 3. And another quick left flick here. Very tricky infield course here. A lot of it you can't see very well. Then we have this long left-hander, very tempting here to outbrake yourself as you turn into this right-hander, because this is such an important corner. You've got to get good power off here, and this is the sort of corner too that really burns the rear tires off these cars.
Gentilozzi is a very quick driver. If you're watching Trans Am racing for the first couple of times, here he goes to the inside of Gooding. Gentilozzi, turn 9, makes the pass, picks up 5th spot. Gooding tries to come back at him. Can't do it. Gentilozzi will hold the spot. Now Gooding up through the gears on the low side into 3. Gentilozzi closes the door.
Beautifully judged pass there by Paul Gentilozzi. He came off that corner just exactly like we explained to you at the beginning of the show. Came off the corner right and boom, straight down the inside of Gooding into that hairpin. So now he's got Mike Borkowski in front of him. Mike Borkowski, of course, driving the Textron car for Tom Gloy Racing, and one of Bobby Rahall's up-and-coming young hopes. So Mike Borkowski now has got a very experienced driver breathing down his neck.
Gentilozzi, the key for him, of course, is to remain under control and be around at the end. We've watched him put on some great performances only to not be there when the checkered flag falls. Jim Briotti on pit road. Kendall, your leader, back with more at Phoenix after this. Star Classic. Rick Benjamin, David Hobbs, Derek Daly with you for the SCCA Trans Am Championship. Good to have you with us today. Kendall, your leader in the black automobile, the 11th car. Brian Simo, second in the Valvoline 22 out of the Tom Gloy shops. The two competing Ford factory teams, 1 and 2. Kendall trying to win 2 straight. Fast qualifier. He's been the fastest car all weekend.
He has been the fastest car all weekend, and Paul Gentilozzi has just executed an absolutely beautiful pass on Mike Borkowski. So Gentilozzi now is up to 4th and gaining ground on Mike Lewis, of course, who is running in 3rd spot. 4th spot, sorry. He's up to 5th spot. Gentilozzi is 5th. Mike Lewis right in front of him is 4th, but Gentilozzi is catching up with him.
Gentilozzi on fire after starting back in 11th after a late engine change after qualifying yesterday. Let's find out more on pit road. Derek Daly.
Here with his crew chief, Mark Strickland. Mark, he is on a charge out there.
Well, he promised us before the start of the race he was going to be patient, so I doesn't look that way right now, but it's a good car.
Have you ever seen him be patient in the past?
No, I can't say that.
There you go, boys. There's his patience. He's charging hard.
He's giving his brand new sponsor, Riso, a good ride today.
That's his ex-crew chief that we just spoke to, Mark Strickland.
They've been through the wars a lot. Mark's been with Gentilozzi for many years. Gentilozzi steaming through 3 under the Goodyear Bridge and out onto the main straightaway here at Phoenix International Raceway. And we should point out that this is different from most road courses these Trans Am teams will compete on, in that so much of it is on the oval and much of it is left-hand turns. Of these 11, I guess, what, David, 7 or 8 of them are left-handers.
Exactly. They really are. So it's not something they're used to doing. And of course they do have that bank turn, which they have to take into account when they set their cars up. Plus, of course, you've got some real tight corners like this one here, down to 2nd gear, then short shift through that, trying to get the power down. So it's very important not to burn the tires off at situations like that. And of course that right front tire takes a real pounding here as you go through the bank turns 3 and 4, NASCAR 3 and 4, and all the other turns, of course, are left-handers as well. Terrific battle here. Leighton Reese there, just in front of Dino Crescentini in the 15 car. Beautiful paint job on Dino's car.
Leighton Reese being shown in 9th right now. Crescentini in 10th spot as they battle up through turn 9. Leighton looking to the outside of Crescentini as they hit the back straightaway. Now he'll go low and try to make a move on Dino, who was very impressive here 2 years ago. Reese has to give ground, though, down into turn 3 on the oval, which is actually turn 10 on the road circuit we're using. John Miller also up in the hunt there. He's right behind Reese as they battle for 10th, 11th, and 12th spots onto the main straightaway.
And all of them are catching up with Bill Saunders in the 8 car. And of course his teammate Greg Pickett in the 6 car is also trying to catch up with that group. So when Greg Pickett catches up with that, we're going to have a pretty tight battle there for that 8th through 12th spot.
Saunders sits 8th, Crescentini is 9th, then Reese is 10th, and John Miller would sit back at 11th spot in the 64 as the cars work through the inside road course. We go on board. Dorsey Schrader won here a year ago. Dorsey riding 3rd, but he really hasn't been able to put any pressure on the 2 leaders. Let's find out more about that situation too. Derek Daly on pit road.
From Tom Gloy, who owns the 2nd place car with Brian Simo and Dorsey Schrader's car. Tom, Dorsey can't keep up with the first 2. What's wrong?
He actually can keep up. He's got a little bit of push in the car. He's got a full load of fuel. Long race. He may be the smart man out there.
Well, maybe the smart man, because that smile, David, tells me tires is what he's trying to manage out there.
Yeah, well, I was sort of wondering that just a little bit. Brian Simo, as we explained earlier on, all over Tommy Kendall like a cheap suit. And of course, Tommy Kendall probably dictating the speed of this race, but both those guys taking care of their tires. But Dorsey Schrader Old Dorse taking care even more of his. Paul Gentilozzi on that lap executed another great pass, got underneath Mike Lewis, so now Gentilozzi is trying
Here's
to...
Gentilozzi off power. Gentilozzi with trouble. He's going to stop on course. So just as he made that move around Lewis, Gentilozzi, who is up to 4th, in trouble, obviously, and off the pace. So we'll check that out, find out what's going on. Gentilozzi, who finished 5th there a year ago, led 55 laps at St. Petersburg in the first race of the year, only to spin with 5 to go and lose the lead and the race to Kendall. Looks like Gentilozzi's afternoon is over very early. We're only on lap 10 of 67 today, and the Riso Digital Duplicators machine appears to be in trouble. Kendall still out front. He's led since the drop of the green. Right behind him, Brian Simo, the Valvoline 22. Look at the gap there. Simo now about 10 or 12 car lengths behind as the leaders work the back part of the course here at Phoenix International Raceway. This 1.51 mile road circuit laid out in the infield. They go through the keyhole. Short straightaway will take them up to turn 9 and then around that up onto the backstretch of the oval. Kendall's 6th place here a year ago, one of his poorer finishes of his championship season. Gentilozzi's car has stopped on course. Paul climbing out, you know, he's not very happy about this, but you'd have to think some engine problems. He's going to pull the hood pins and take a look underneath, see if there's anything they can do to that Riso machine.
Probably some sort of electrical problem that's just cut the engine off. I was thinking maybe it might have been a drive line, but oh no, he wants a screwdriver to undo the 2 Zeus fasters on the front of the hood there. Obviously he's not carrying one in his pocket. Here comes the marshal. He's got one.
Derek Daly is in Gentilozzi's pit. Derek.
Mark, he was the talk of the race up until this point, but any idea what happened?
Sounds like an electrical problem. He thinks he saw smoke coming from under the dash. He was going to unhook himself and see if he could get a look at what was going on.
No warning at all?
No, not at all. He said the motor just shut right off.
He's out there working on the car. Is there anything realistically that he can fix?
Well, it's a pretty slim chance at this point, but you just have to hope for the best.
2 chances, slim and probably none.
Looked like a moment of fire was showing there, David. They're pouring some water in on it now. So evidently some serious electrical problems. Gentilozzi's car is off course safely. He's on an exit road just before turn 9. Take a look at Kendall, still your leader. Simo about 12, 15 car lengths back now. So Tommy stretching the lead without much problem.
And Dorsey Schrader a long way back now, somewhere in the region of probably nearly a quarter of a lap back, the whole length of the front straightaway back. So Dorsey's either playing it real cool or he just can't keep up. But if he's got a push problem, then he really has to wait for that to go away before he starts pushing too hard. Otherwise, he'll just run that right front tire off the car. If it's pushing on that banking, I mean, that just kills that tire. You know, the weight, the heat. The sun here, as you said, it's about 95 degrees. The sun's come out again now, so that we had some high cloud before, which took some of the intensity out of the sun, and obviously lowered the temperature on the track, but it's gone away again now, so the track's probably getting really hot again. Something these guys are going to have to think about over the next 40-odd laps.
Brian Simo making his 37th career Trans Am start today. He's got 2 previous top 3s, including that second at Road America that you saw there a moment ago, 11 top 5s. He's led several races. Last year had many runs at the front of the pack, has yet to win his first Trans Am event. Maybe it'll be today. Long way to go. 12 laps of 67 are complete here at Phoenix International Raceway. As James Briotti back on course in the 42, Kendall putting him another lap down. He had problems earlier. They were able to fix it. Tommy Kendall continues to lead. Mike Borkowski sits 5th. All Fords in the first 5, then Gooding and Crescentini. John Miller rounding out the top 10. We'll be right back. David Hobbs, Derek Daly with you today. Tommy Kendall has led since the drop of the green. Working up on lap traffic now. 15 laps complete as he puts a lap on Max Lagarde in the white 83 car there. So Kendall with this one well in hand for the moment. Brian Simo is in second spot. Dorsey Schrader third, but they're not within hailing distance of Kendall at the moment. Big issue could be tires as we work through the afternoon. Now Greg Pickett, who spun on lap 1. We're on board with Greg working his way back up through the field. Pickett at the moment being shown in 11th, so he's come back from 18th, made a lot of moves. Right in front of him, John Miller and Leighton Reese. Greg very much in the hunt as they come up onto the back straightaway. His teammate Saunders, who's 7th, just a couple of lengths ahead of him at this point.
Yeah, this is Greg Pickett has done a big job catching up with his group now, and he's going to pick them off one by one. Then he's going to have to get round, of course, his own Bill Saunders.
Derek Daly, what are they saying in Greg Pickett's pit area?
Gary Young is here taking lap times in every lap. Gary, things for such a bad start looking quite respectable right now.
Yeah, it wasn't one of our best starts, but we've got a good pace going now. We're moving up in the ranks, so things are looking not that bad.
Do you talk to him much on the radio, or does he talk to you for information at any time?
Oh yeah, we talk back and forth, and we got his son Mike does a lot of talking too, so there's a couple of us talking to him.
So lots of hot air open down the pit lane here, fellas.
Greg Pickett, one of everybody's favorites. We've got a little action on course. Dino Crescentini and James Briotti have come together. Now, Dino was up in 6th spot. He and John Gooding had been fighting it out. He'd gotten by Gooding to drop him to 7th, but Crescentini spins trying to get by the lat car of Jim Briotti, the 42 machine. They both get back on course, but Dino Crescentini has lost a lot of ground, David Hobbs.
He will have done. He's going to lose even more now because there's Paul Gentilozzi, whose car is running like a clock again. It went by here and it sounds absolutely perfect. He lost about 2 laps while he fiddled around under the hood. He did not bother to come into the pits.
Let's show you this action. This is the spin a moment ago. Gooding gets around the 2 cars. They were both trying to lap Briotti, and that's the battle between Crescentini and Gooding we had watched. Now, Gooding was passed by Dino just a couple of laps back as they came through turn 9. Little contact there. Dino moving Gooding out of the way as they come off of 9 and up onto the backstretch. So those two have really been fighting hard. Briotti comes on the pit road. Crescentini has a cut down right rear tire. These cars run bias ply Goodyears. Very hard compound today. There you see the body damage to the Auto Specialty Chevrolet. So Crescentini will come on pit road for a tire change under green. This will cost him dearly. He comes down to the attention of his crew. They bring the jack around to the passenger side of the car. Put a new right rear skin on the number 15. And Crescentini will lose a lot of time because we are under green, 18 laps into the books. Derek Daly walking around to take a look at the work being done. Hopefully we'll get a word from Derek. Derek, what are they doing down there? Just 1 tire or 2?
Well, it is just 1, but he's got a fair old whack because not only has he turned the tires to shreds, he's actually put a huge old dent in the wheel rim. So that was quite hard contact out there. A lot of time lost on the pit lane. Body damage also, I see on the outside here.
Derek's in position to grab a wrench and help out. Crescentini refires the 15 back on underway down pit road. He'll rejoin after losing probably a lap, maybe a little more. Tough break for Dino Crescentini. He was running very well this week.
He was running well, and I think that Jim Briotti and he might have had contact. I think Briotti might have spun right in front of Crescentini, which is very disappointing considering that Briotti was 3 or 4 laps down, having stopped in the pits earlier on. But just one of those things, I guess, in racing. And poor old Dino Crescentini making his comeback for Trans Am this year. We're going to see a lot more of him this year, and he certainly was running very well this afternoon.
Good action here. We're on board with Greg Pickett, who has moved around John Miller to take over 9th. He's got Leighton Reese in his sights next, and right ahead of him, teammate Bill Saunders. Saunders riding 7th, Reese is 8th, Pickett is 9th, and it's been a great charge for the great veteran Greg Pickett, who had to line up 18th after that spin on lap 1. We come up on lap number 20 of 67 here this afternoon at Phoenix. Pickett takes a look on Leighton Reese. Now, that's the car that started a real revolution, I think, in Trans Am a year ago. Reese showed up with a car that was really a converted ASA stock car. This is a new car this year. The same type of body work, but it is a new chassis. Very similar, though, to what you'd find in short track technology. Leighton with a V8 in the Trop Arctic Fieldworks computer car this year. Looking for a very good season out of Minnesota.
Greg Pickett, this is where Greg Pickett spun on that opening lap, which he must be cursing himself for now because the car is going very well. Now he's got it sorted out, and he's about to pick off Leighton Reese. Then, of course, he's got to get around Bill Saunders, his teammate. Whoa, 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 whoa. So he's going to have a go there.
Looked inside there in turn 9. Remember, last year, that's where all the passing was. 12 lead changes in this one a year ago, and all of them came at that point up on turn 9.
Greg Pickett looks quick through the banking here. He must have got his car set up nicely for that. He makes up a bit of ground there on Leighton Reese as they come through there. Obviously, that's a good place to make up ground because then you can make a pass on them going into turn 1, but I don't think he's quite close enough to do that this lap.
Would you want to set up for more of the oval, David, here, since it is so long a stretch that you have to run?
You certainly want to make sure that you can go through that oval just about as near flat out as possible, but of course it's very difficult to do that and keep the tires under the car. That's the big trick, is keeping the tires under the car through that long left-hander and having some chassis setup that's going to get you through the infield as well at a respectable speed.
This is the battle for 8th and 9th. Leighton Reese is 8th. Pickett is 9th. Your leader is Tom Kendall in car number 11. The IROC competitor, the defending series champion, won the season opener at St. Petersburg back in February. And Tommy Kendall with a very comfortable 2.1 second lead. Meantime, Dorsey Schrader back in 3rd, playing it very cautious in the early going. We're well short of halfway. Dorsey trailing his teammate Brian Simo. 21 into the books. Back at Phoenix after this. Very warm springtime weekend too. Glad you're with us for the Chevy Trucks Desert Star Classic And the SCCA Trans Am Series, we've been documenting the story of Greg Pickett, how he had come up from 18th after a spin on lap 1. He was up into the top 8, battling with Leighton Reese. I'll show you what happened a moment ago. Bill Saunders in the mix as well. Saunders, his teammate. Here's Leighton Reese trying to get by Saunders to pick up 7th. Leighton makes the pass, smoking the brakes, David.
Smoking the brakes big time, and then as poor old Bill Saunders gets off the gas, his teammate Greg Pickett comes up and nails him right in the side. Just rather an unfortunate incident, I would say.
I'll show it to you from outside turn 9. Leighton on the brakes hard into 9 to make the pass. He gets by cleanly, but then Pickett and Saunders, the teammates, make contact. Bill gets turned around. Pickett stops for the 2nd time this afternoon. Greg Pickett with troubles in car number 6. We'll show it to you again from a rear view.
Great pass there by Leighton Reese. I mean, he just did it right. He braked really late. Saunders left the door open, and of course Greg Pickett got on the inside of him. Of course Miller goes around both those again, picking up the positions he had lost.
This is the view from Pickett's automobile here. Saunders just turned down across him, it looked like.
Yeah, Saunders left him room and then decided he shouldn't leave him room and close the door on him rather too late. You can close the door on people, but you really have to close it on them before they're there, not when they're already there.
So Pickett with nose damage to the 6 car, as we saw. This is the battle for the top spot. Brian Simo now starting to carve into Tommy Kendall's lead a little bit. David, we saw yesterday some of these teams anticipating pit stops to change tires perhaps here today.
Well, the tire, you know, everybody was really worried about the tires, and now yet again we've got some of that very high overcast here, which has actually put some shadow onto the track. So that again will help people whose cars aren't quite as well set up as they may be. It's going to help their tire wear just a little bit. Ambient, of course, hasn't changed much, but I'm sure the track temperature will go down significantly when that cloud cover comes over.
According to scoring, Simo is now only 0.6 of a second behind Kendall. He was more than 2 seconds behind him a few moments ago. Paul Gentilozzi with problems again. We showed you earlier how Gentilozzi was slicing through the field. He had gotten into the top 5 from 11th spot. Electrical problems stopped him for several laps. He got it fixed on course. Now the car is stopped again. Paul has gone off the course up past turn 9. He's actually on the oval part of the racetrack here at Phoenix, facing the wrong way. He's unbuckling. And you know Paul Gentilozzi isn't very happy with this turn of events. Leaders into turn 1.
He'll be pretty mad about that, I would think. So having got out and fixed it.
Top group of cars, Kendall and Simo are 1 and 2. Mike Borkowski, the rookie driver out of Connecticut, he is up to 4th in car number 4. That's one of the Gloy machines as well. Sponsored by Textron, and Borkowski's been taken under the wing of IndyCar star Bobby Rahal. Derek Daly on pit road.
With Grant Ingram, crew chief for Mike Borkowski. Pretty uneventful day, but a good day for Mike.
Yeah, Mike seems to be doing good. He's running a nice steady race, and we'll just see what happens at the end.
Now, is there a concern that if he has to push hard, he might use up the tires?
No, I think we'll be fine by the end of the race. He's been running a real steady race here, so it should be good.
I think steady and consistency is the word of the day here for the Textron pit.
Borkowski quite a ways back. He's about half a track behind Kendall at this point, but running cleanly, and that's a big step for him. There were high hopes for him, David, at St. Petersburg. He qualified 8th, but had trouble, couple of crashes. He finished back in, 24th, 23rd, make it 18th spot back at St. Petersburg. So Borkowski getting his Trans Am career on track, it seems, this weekend.
Yeah, he's going to have to drive carefully to conserve his car, conserve his tires, and make sure that he gets a good finish. But on the other hand, a guy of his age who's trying to make it in the big time of racing, you know, there comes a time when you really got to put the hammer down. You've got to make your presence felt and make people know that you're around. So a bit of a fine line for Mike Borkowski. Can't be too steady and careful. He's got to show some signs of a bit of zip.
Kendall now still your leader. Simo 2nd, starting to stretch that lead is Kendall. They come up on Greg Pickett, who's had a couple of spins here today. Pickett a little off the pace now. The nose of the car not straight anymore, so the aerodynamics of the car can't be right, and Pickett moves over, lets Kendall blow by to turn 4 of the oval under the Goodyear Bridge. Tommy Kendall in the black and green All-Sport Ford is your race leader, and he's got about a 9/10 of a second advantage now. He stretched it out over Brian Simo a good bit as they roar down into turn 1.
Yeah, Brian Simo, of course, has got to get around Greg Pickett now. Greg Pickett is losing ground to both his teammate Saunders, who he spun around, and of course Johnny Miller, who got around both of them while they were spinning. And of course Dino Crescentini caught them up, although Dino Crescentini probably a lap down.
Pickett did not lose a lap. He's being shown 10th. Last car on the lead lap now. RJ Valentine a lap down in 11th. So Kendall has lapped about 6 or 7 of the competitors here this afternoon. Paul Gentilozzi still in his car. Safety workers talking to him. It looks like the Riso Duplicators machine is done for the day. Let's go pit side. Derek Daly.
Again with Mark Strickland. Mark, you'd like to help him, but he's fixing the thing himself out there. You know what's wrong? Is it the same problem again?
I believe it's the same problem again. Yeah, the coil wire is giving us some kind of problem with the distributor cap, what I understand.
Okay, he's now underway again. Would it be more beneficial to stop and let you look at it, or just try to fix it himself?
I think we're probably going to do that this time, unless he's sure he's got it fixed.
Well, Mark can be glad that Paul Gentilozzi is mechanically minded.
He is that, and he is a very fine race driver as well. Gentilozzi back at speed up onto the main straightaway. Looks like he won't pit this time.
He's obviously decided that he has fixed it and has fixed it properly, so he's decided to stay out rather than lose more time coming in.
Of course, points very much an issue here. Gentilozzi, a contender for the driving championship in the Trans Am Series this year. Wants to stay on track and rack up as many points as he can. Came back and finished 3rd at St. Petersburg, and he is 3rd in the point standings. We watch the lead car of Tommy Kendall easing around the road course here at Phoenix International Raceway. He and Brian Simo right behind him in 2nd spot. They just got by Dino Crescentini.
And of course, easing their way around here is right. These guys are racing. They look fast. They are fast. They're turning in some terrific laps. The top 3 guys easily eclipse the old record here. But even so, you know that they are driving with some sort of speed in hand, because this tire problem is a major problem here, and we will yet find out as this race unfolds whether Dorsey Schrader has been outrun or whether he's just been really clever.
Dorsey sitting about 10.5 seconds behind the 2 leaders. Now that there's clear racetrack in front of them, Simo has moved up to within half a second of Kendall once again. Michael Lewis with a very good run going. He's 5th. Qualified 3rd, started in the top 5 for the first time in his Trans Am career. This is only his 6th career start in that Redline Oil Ford Mustang. And Lewis doing a nice job on the lead lap in 5th spot. Derek Daly.
With David Steele, his crew chief here for Mike Lewis. I mean, you think you have to be reasonably happy, David? Reasonably happy?
I couldn't hear what you said.
So reasonably happy with what you see out there?
Yeah, we're reasonably happy, reasonably comfortable. We're, Mike's running good. We're 5th place, and we qualified for this, so we're expecting.
He's done a lot of racing here at Phoenix. Would that sort of hometown advantage be the number of races he has done here on this particular track? Is that an advantage to him over the rest of the boys?
I think it helps a little bit. You know, we ran a couple nationals here earlier in the year and everything, and that gave us some track time, so I'm sure that helps.
Good. Nice to see a small team in the big time here, fellas.
Taking it race to race, but hoping to compete the entire Trans Am season. Lewis went to St. Petersburg, had problems, finished deep in the field. Off-course excursions. I think he broke a gear, if I remember correctly, there too. But he's running very, very nicely here at Phoenix today. But Tommy Kendall showing everybody the way. 30 laps are complete, and we'll be back. Desert, but there are some bodies of water close by. It might be the Salt River right near, close to Phoenix International Raceway. Welcome back to our coverage of the Chevy Trucks Desert Star Classic. And trouble on the racetrack. The 90 of Jim McGuire has looped it. That would be up in the speedway portion of the course. Actually, he went across the grass out of turn 1. He's up in the high banking of 1 and 2. McGuire, who finished 16th at St. Petersburg, is back underway in his Chevrolet. We'll take a look down into 1.
Ooh.
Just too fast into 1 and 2, David.
Wow, I'll say big spin there across the grass, up onto the banking there, all the wheels locked up.
That'll bring out a caution on the speedway, and McGuire did a nice job to keep that off the hard concrete outside wall. He was heading toward the fence at a high clip there. We've just passed halfway here at Phoenix International Raceway. 34 laps are into the books. It's Kendall out in front. We are yellow. Might we see a few pit stops for tires? We'll find out when we come back at Phoenix. Live from Peach State Speedway in Jefferson, 1 o'clock Eastern, right here on TNN Motorsports. Hope you can join us for the Wins 300 tomorrow. We ride with Dorsey Schrader. We're under caution at Phoenix International Raceway. Lap 35 complete. Kendall and Simo, your top 2 cars behind the pace truck. The safety truck is out touring the oval, looking for some debris. Derek Daly on pit road. Looks like some crews may be ready to change tires. What do you think?
I'm with Dan Binks, who's on the radio with Tommy Kendall. Tommy, Brian Simo is right there. Is that control or concern for you?
Well, it's always concern when somebody's behind you, but we're just going along here trying to use up some fuel and wait to see what happens at the end. We'll race at the end.
Is there any concern that tires could be an issue here, or is the yellow flag let everybody off the hook?
Well, the yellow flag will help cool them down. They're always a concern here at Phoenix. Even at night, when we used to race here at night, they were concerned. So, you know, we do as much as we can with them. We take care of them and purge them and do all the stuff that you do to your tires to save them, but you just never know. Kendall said the car is dynamite.
Dan, what uses up the tires, the infield section or the banking?
The bank is the deal. The right front gets leaned on so hard. You know, these cars aren't made to run on banks. You know, they're not offset weight like a truck or a Winston Cup car. They're really hard on the right front.
Rick?
Pit stop for Greg Pickett, who's had problems a couple of times. They're trying to straighten out the front dive plane. They're putting a right front tire on the car. They've got the hood off, David. They're doing some extensive work on that car.
Now they got the high-tech tools, the crowbars come out.
That's stock car technology. Derek Daly on pit road for Greg Pickett.
They are trying to move the brake cooling ducts away from the upright, David. So it looks like the damage he did when he hit his teammate has actually caused suspension damage, particularly with the cooling system into the brakes.
And cooling, of course, here pretty important. Use the brakes pretty hard into turn one, although with that slow move in there, this is not a tough course on brakes in spite of having so many corners, because the approach is not the sort of approach where you use them hard, except, of course, into our favorite there, turn 9, up onto the hairpin into the banking. But that has lost him valuable time. Oh, he's going to go hoodless.
Greg had already lost perhaps a lap with his second little contact there with Bill Saunders. We showed you up at turn 9 earlier, and you can see the damage to the nose piece on the 6 car as well. But Greg Pickett, one of the great veterans of this series, back underway, ready to rejoin the field. Let's go back to pit road. Derek Daly.
Now Gary Young's under pressure here. Gary, what was it in there that's damaged?
Yeah, we got a bent tie rod. When he hit the other car, it bent the right tie rod, and it's pretty well crooked. So we tried to straighten it as much as we can, put a new right front on, see what we can do from there.
You can see here he's at around the tie rod is buried in under the cooling ducts, David. So you know it's down low by that bottom wishbone.
Greg is being shown 1 lap down right now. Gentilozzi comes to pit road, as does Jim McGuire. Leaders, though, stay on track behind the pace truck. As Pickett circulates without the hood, he'll try to catch up to the pack for the restart. Gentilozzi on pit road. They're going to take advantage here. They've lost several laps. They were 5 laps down after the first electrical problem. Probably lost another 1 or 2. Putting right side tires on the car. What do you think, Derek Daly?
It's tactics. They're going to go on the softest tire that they have here, trying to make up from the back. You know what, David? How many laps down is he? He surely can't make up enough time.
10 laps down at this point. 27 complete. They're obviously running for points, though. Trying to get Gentilozzi up into the standings a little more. He's being shown 17th right at the moment. Putting 4 tires on the car.
Well, they've still got
left side.
half the race to go. If they're putting soft tires, and I wouldn't give them much of a chance of doing 30 laps, let alone. I mean, they certainly wouldn't do 60, but I don't think they'll do 30, will they? Those soft tires. I'd be surprised if they do.
Well, they're going to give it a shot. Still under caution here at Phoenix.
And he obviously isn't going to pull back 10 laps. He'd have to go.
Wouldn't think so. A lot of things would have to happen to help him out if he were to have a chance.
He'd have to go very fast to pull out 10 laps in 30.
Gentilozzi gently off of pit road with those soft tires on. Now remember, there are 2 tire choices in Trans Am. Everyone selected all 4 tires of the 600 compound, the hardest. It looks as though that Gentilozzi has gone to the soft tires, which would probably be the 400, maybe the 230s. We'll have to check and see. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern, the Chevy Trucks Desert Star Classic resumes the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. 150 miles here. It all starts at 4 o'clock Eastern on the leader, TNN Motorsports. Hope you can join us tomorrow afternoon. Ready to put the Trans Am back under green. It'll be lap 39 this time by Kendall in the black 11, Simo in the Valvoline, the 22 car, and Dorsey Schrader, your top 3, green and going. We'll see if they've cooled their tires down. Maybe Simo or Dorsey can get a run at Kendall here, David.
Rubin and Valentine going side by side that turn 1. It's going to be interesting to see now with the 30-odd laps left whether Dorsey Schrader was waiting for these guys or whether in fact he can pull up on them and maintain their pace.
Kendall's still out in front. Let's go to pit road, find out about the strategy with Derek Daly.
It's Tom Gloy here again. So Tom, we got all the barrels blazing here with Dorsey Schrader. Is he ready for the shootout?
I think we do, Derek. We actually got a misfire during that yellow and switch ignition boxes and it cleared up. So maybe that was a really good omen for us. Dorsey says the car's great. He thinks he can go fast enough. It's a couple cars you got to pass. So.
So just think of that. He had a misfire, so the yellow flag helped him with the misfire. But also, let me clean up a bit on Paul Gentilozzi. He's on the same compound tires, however, they're fresh. Mark Strickland told me the only reason they did it and put that effort in is trying to get fastest race lap to show how good the race car really is.
Dorsey Schrader working to try to find some speed. He sits third. Maybe Brian Simo is being sent out as a stalking horse, David, to try to put pressure on Kendall, give Dorsey a chance here.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. I think we sort of mentioned that earlier on, that Brian Simo was maybe a little bit less experienced than these guys, keeping the tyres under his car, but obviously the tyres are still under the car. He's still going fast. He's still giving Tommy Kendall a good run, so I'm not sure. You know, Dorsey's got his work cut out to get around these two guys.
40 laps complete, 27 to go. Dorsey is third, up ahead of him Simo in the 22, second behind your leader Kendall. Now remember, the Gloy cars are actually second, third, and fourth because Mike Borkowski is running in fourth spot. Paul Gentilozzi out on those fresh tires, trying to find some speed and perhaps pick up a spot or two on the road course part of the circuit here at Phoenix International Raceway. Gentilozzi down toward the keyhole in the Riso Duplicators machine. Dorsey up under the Goodyear Bridge, riding third in the Gloy car, the Ray Bestis Mustang, up onto the main straightaway of the Oval. Your two lead cars directly ahead. Kendall in the black number 11 there. The blue and white Valvoline colors for Simo in second spot. Simo just a couple of car lengths back. It's less than half a second right now for first and second.
Simo looks quick, doesn't he, through that turn one?
Sure does.
Very quick.
As we told you, Brian Simo has yet to visit Victory Lane in a Trans Am event, but he has come oh so close so many times. This year could well be the year he gets his first victory, though he's got to get by Kendall to do that today. Good battle for the top spot. Simo putting all kinds of pressure on Kendall now as they come up the short straightaway to turn 9. This is where we saw so much action 1 year ago. So many passes for the lead. Dorsey third, Borkowski fourth in the white and green car.
Also seen some good action there today.
Yeah.
Greg Pickett ran
definitely.
And of course, Leighton Reese laid that smoky trail as he locked up the old left front. So his left front must be pretty rattly at the moment, too. Huge flat spot on that.
I'm surprised he didn't come in for tires during that caution. I would have thought it would have been a good move. The battle for 7th. Leighton Reese, we were just talking about him, is in 7th. And John Miller in the PLC Direct car, the blue, red, and white machine, in 8th spot directly behind Reese. Back to pit road, Derek Daly.
Another one of the privateer teams doing a wonderful job here is that of Leighton Reese. They built a brand new car in Minneapolis, and they're out here running in the top 7. Paul, you got to be pretty happy.
Yeah, it is a brand new car, and we're still working the bugs out of it. It's still new and fresh, but we'll be happy with 7th. We'll be back better than ever next time.
Remember, the car he ran last year was a converted ARCA car. This is a custom-made Trans Am car. So good job for Leighton Reese and that Trop Arctic crew.
They have done a terrific job putting that car together. It's much lower. This is a purpose-built Trans Am machine, and Leighton qualified 11th, said he would be much better in the race, and they have been very fast all day so far. John Gooding directly ahead of him, 6th. Now he's got to hold John Miller off. Miller is 8th, and gaining some ground really on Leighton.
John Miller making a bit of a charge here. Miller got put to the back after changing his tires between qualifying and start of the race, so he was right at the back of the grid, but he's pulling his way up through. Got involved in that fracas with Leighton Reese, Bill Saunders and Greg Pickett earlier on, but actually picked up a couple of spots because of that. So now, of course, he's hot in pursuit of Leighton Reese. In fact, both of them are not that far behind John Gooding, who finished 2nd in the first race at St. Petersburg.
And Bill Saunders back in style, running very nicely in the 8th car, the Highwaymaster Chevrolet. He's a teammate, of course, to Greg Pickett. Saunders is up behind Miller now as they battle it out. He is being shown in 9th spot. So Saunders with a good drive to recover from that spin and the contact with Pickett several laps ago, and he's drawn right up on the back deck lid of John Miller now as they hit turn 9.
Back at turn 9, of course, which is where Leighton Reese slid down the inside of Bill Saunders earlier on, triggering off that little fracas between himself and his teammate. So these 3 cars, Reese, Miller, and Saunders, very close together as they come off turns 3 and 4, NASCAR style, onto the front straightaway, past the grid for the 40 off time.
Miller and Bill Saunders still battling back in the pack. Leighton Reese directly ahead of them in 7th spot. This is the race for 8th. Take a look at Leighton Reese directly ahead. They sit in 7th.
John Miller there in the PLC Direct car, of course, was our Rookie of the Year last year.
And he's running a Rocket Sports chassis with Rocket Sports motors. In years past, Paul Gentilosi's team would have as many as 4 cars in the field at a Trans Am event. Paul decided to put all of his resources into his own effort this year. Says that maybe his last year as a driver, we would hate to see that happen because he had so much fun in the series and so much excitement behind the wheel. But he's got a couple of his cars in the show here today. The Miller machine is one. Bob Ruben drives a Rocket Sports chassis car as well. Let's go back to pit road. Derek Daly.
And a family affair here because John Miller Jr. is out in the race car. John Miller Sr., the dad, is in here. Are you happy with your day?
Betcha, we're doing great. We're really pleased.
Does he talk much on the radio? Has got any problems? Did the yellow help him?
The yellow did help. No much conversation at all. Not hardly any. So that's good news. No problems.
Tell me, does he still have that big mortgage out in his house that he took last year to try and win the Rookie of the Year?
Still making payments, but no help from Dad.
No help from Dad. No, but the prize money helped this week, hopefully.
John Miller puts Jim McGuire a lap down as he rolls along in 8th. Saunders is 9th. Directly behind him, Saunders with heavy pressure now on Miller.
Yes, that was a bit of an unfortunate incident for John Miller there. He caught up with McGuire just at the wrong time and lost a vital couple of tenths of a second there, which put Saunders right behind him. So now Saunders is going to draft him down the back straightaway through turns 3 and 4. Up the front, is he going to be able to get him going into turn 1? Seems to be losing ground a little bit there.
He does.
Yeah.
John Miller in the red, white, and blue machine. Leighton Reese directly in front. So that's really a 3-car battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th.
That tricky turn 1. Very fast entry. Then, as you said, it's a tightening radius. Gets tighter and tighter and tighter. Just tap on the brakes there before that real tight apex there. Then, of course, swing right here. A lot of weight shift in the chassis. Then a quick left-hand flick here. Then down to this next left-hand complex, which is tricky too because you brake, you're losing speed all the way through that left-hand, and suddenly you have to lose a lot of speed as you enter this the sort of hook of the 180-degree corner there.
So John Miller continues to hold Saunders back, trying to get up on Leighton Reese as well and battle for 7th. Mark your calendar for Sunday, July 6th, 4th of July weekend, our next SCCA Trans Am broadcast here on TNN. The Stars will travel to Minneapolis for the Children's Grand Prix, 2 o'clock Eastern, Sunday, the 6th of July. Hope you can join us right here on TNN Motorsports. These drivers and a host of others will be in action that weekend, and we will have a terrific week. Last year's event at Minneapolis was wonderful. Reese with Miller. Right behind him, Saunders. A good battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th, and this is the battle for 10th spot. We've got Max Lagat and R.J. Valentine. R.J. did not make the show, did not make the haul down to St. Petersburg for the opening round, but he's back. Expects to make most of the rest of the races this year. Oh, close run there. Jim McGuire may not have seen him in the 90. Looked like McGuire moved over on Valentine as they came down the main straightaway. Valentine runs a car out of the Greg Pickett stables. He gets by Max Lagat, holds off Lagat, actually, we should say, for 10th
I don't
and 11th.
think that McGuire's seen Lagat either. So that's bad for Max Lagat there. Oh, just keeps everywhere.
Yes, he does not see him, you can tell.
And losing big time here to R.J. Valentine in the number 7 car. So Lagarde's just got to keep his cool now as he goes round. Actually, got underneath McGuire going through the 180-degree corner.
Lagat in 11th, being blocked basically by Jim McGuire. And finally gets by McGuire. So it will be a battle shortly once again, probably between the 83 and between the 7. Here's your 4th place driver, Mike Borkowski, out of Connecticut, in that car out of the Gloy shops with Textron Automotive as their sponsor. 2nd Trans Am start. Let's go back to the pits. Derek Daly.
With a man who has a keen interest in Mike Borkowski, and as if Bobby Rahal doesn't have enough to do, you're here in the paddock. He can rely on Mike.
Well, you know, this is our program with Tom and Textron, and I feel like I got to be here to, you know, help him on and give him the moral support, and he's doing a very good job today. So, but I'm not going to take much credit for that. I think that's all his doing.
Now, you're at this end of the country for testing, right?
Yeah, we went from Long Beach up to Portland. Brian tested, did a very good job. Car went real well. So, you know, we're just, this is kind of on the way to Columbus.
Kind of on the way to Columbus. It's warmer than at the moment.
Got another spin on course. Jim McGuire, the Tell-Save car, the number 90. He spun for the 2nd time this afternoon. We'll have caution in the infield road course at the very least. McGuire gets turned in the right direction. Looks like he may have cut a tire there. I'll show you what happened to Jim McGuire. We were documenting how he was in the mix with a couple of the other cars. He gets off course and loops it, David.
And not only did he loop it, when he drove back onto the course, he drove back right under the nose of our leader, Tommy Kendall.
Well, Jim McGuire gets refired back on course. Scary moments for several drivers. Kendall the leader, Mike Lewis hanging on in 5th. R.J. Valentine rounds out the top 10. Mountains in the desert Southwest, the Desert Star Classic today. The SCCA Trans Am Series, flowers in bloom, springtime, and very hot here this weekend. Dan Binks timing the leader. His car and driver, Tommy Kendall, out in front. He's led all the way, but Kendall's getting some heavy pressure here with 15 laps to go. Brian Simo in the 22 right behind, and Dorsey Schrader, who has ridden carefully and cautiously, dogging those 2 cars in 3rd. Derek Daly.
Dan, the fact that Dorsey Schrader ran reasonably cool at the start of the race, is that a concern now?
Well, it's a concern. He ran pretty slow the first maybe 25 laps, and now he's picked it up a little bit. I think we're okay still. I don't think Simo, it's too early in the year for Simo to let him by, you know, for the points. So I think Simo's going to race him as hard as Kendall would if he gets to us.
You think this race is far from over?
Well, it's far from over. We just got a full course caution right now.
Okay, so that's going to give the tires another bit of a breather.
Indeed, Mike Jennings on the flag stand waving the yellow here at Phoenix International Raceway. Haven't seen exactly what the cause for it might be at this point. Perhaps debris on the track. We've had several cars spin and go off course, so every possibility that there is some debris. That's the oil flag that one of the corner workers has, the yellow and red stripe flag there. So there may be some moisture or debris on the surface. So we are under caution once again. 53 complete, 14 laps to go here at PIR this afternoon. Hope you've enjoyed the SCCA Trans Am Series so far. The shootout is yet to come. Pace truck is out on course, so we're under full course caution here at Phoenix. Kendall has led all the way, but Brian Simo is very, very close to him when we get ready to go green here again, Dave.
But this is going to be a really difficult situation for the team, for the Glory team, because Dorsey Schrader is probably just a bit quicker than Brian Simo, and will want to get around him. But unfortunately, with the shape of this road course, getting around him is not going to be easy. And probably Dorsey can ultimately mount the better challenge to Tommy Kendall, but he's got to get around his teammate first. Now, I don't think they're about to tell Brian Simo to let him through. So could be an interesting situation here. We've already seen 2 teammates run into each other once. Are we going to see it again?
Well, coming up tomorrow morning on TNN Motorsports NASCAR Garage, 11:30 Eastern. It's a half-hour look behind the scenes at the people and the machines of NASCAR racing. Tomorrow morning, 11:30 Eastern. Join us for NASCAR Garage here on TNN Motorsports right before race day. We'll be right back.
When your shock absorbers are worn, your tires can lose contact with the road.
Green is back out, the restart, and we're underway. Kendall is still your leader. He's got Simo and Schrader right behind him into turn 1. Remember, Dorsey won this race 1 year ago in the 12 car, and he is all over his teammate Simo. Kendall maintains the lead out of turn 2. Top 3 are nose to tail into the road course portion of the course here at Phoenix. Let's go down pit road. Derek Daly.
Again with Tom Gloy. Tom, with 2 strong cars, can you do anything as a team to get ahead of Kendall?
Drive faster.
But there are no team orders. It's just every man for himself from your team's point of view, I think.
Yeah, we don't do any of that stuff those other guys have done in the past. Nobody's pulling over for anybody here. Those guys have earned their positions. They'll pass one another and they'll race clean. They know what it's all about, but they're after Kendall.
Do you think Schrader has a tiny tire advantage because of the earlier pacing?
Well, I think he did. We didn't want that yellow.
Ah, so the yellow may have killed that possible advantage that Schrader may have had.
Kendall stretching the lead back out as the laps come down the board here. 12 to go this time by, and it's about an 8-car length advantage for Kendall over the 22 of Simo. He's got another 3 or 4 car lengths over his teammate Schrader. Mike Borkowski, the 3rd Floyd car, sits back in 4th spot. He's not really in contention yet. Another several car lengths back in the white and green 4 car. Your leader Kendall has led since the drop of the green here at Phoenix this afternoon. So get a look at the first 10 in the standings. Leighton Reese with a nice job up to 7th spot. R.J. Valentine into 10th, a lap down, but still a very strong outing for his first run of the year. Saunders, after contact and a spin, he's up to 9th. Johnny Miller 8th. John Gooding, who was 2nd at St. Petersburg, really hasn't been in the chase today, David. I've been surprised by that.
I've been very surprised, considering the strength, of course, Kendall's car, and the 55 car there of Mike Lewis still running in 5th spot.
Take a look again at that battle. Reese and John Miller, the fight there for 7th and 8th spot. Leighton Reese in the Pontiac. The 66 has 7th. Right behind him, Miller in the 64, sitting 8th. Good battling up a little bit ahead of those cars, too. Michael Lewis, the driver making only a 6th career start, sitting 5th. There's Leighton Reese trying to hold Miller off. We'll see if that Rocket Sports motor that's in the PLC Direct car might give Miller a little advantage, but not that time.
No, there's a very close battle here. It nearly got split asunder just a moment ago when Paul Gentilozzi muscled his way past these two guys. As we know, Paul Gentilozzi's on some newer cars there. He's just going out the picture. He is obviously trying to set the fastest race lap. But this is a good race here between Miller and Leighton Reese.
Sure is.
Leighton Reese in the low rider.
He's recontoured the nose bodywork. This is the battle for second now. The Gloyd teammates, Simo and Schrader. And David, talk about the strategy here. This has allowed Kendall to scoot away as these two battle closely.
Well, of course, this is what always happens. I mean, Tommy Kendall just can't believe his luck looking in the mirror and seeing these two guys duke it out, because if there's one thing that's going to give him an opportunity to pull away, of course, it is these two guys racing hard together. I don't think that, I think if Dorsey got around Brian Simo, he probably would pull away, but he's only just a little bit quicker, if quicker at all. And of course, Brian Simo isn't going to put that to the test. He's going to stay in front if he can and try and pull off second spot in this race.
Leaders complete, lap 58, 9 remaining here at Phoenix this afternoon. Don't forget, coming up tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern, NASCAR Busch Grand National action for you here on TNN Motorsports from Nashville. The Opryland Bell South Mobility 320. That'll be a dandy, too, on the High Bank short track at Nashville. We've got Trans Am action, though, here at Phoenix this afternoon. And Simo rides second in the Valvoline car.
Ooh, Simo there getting the old
starts.
tail out in that car through that 180 degree. Certainly, Dorsey Schrader doesn't seem to be particularly quicker anywhere over his teammate. They seem to be very evenly matched. I can't see anywhere where Dorsey is significantly quicker.
No, doesn't seem so at this point. Still got some time, though, in less than 10 to go. But
except right here, he's quicker right here, isn't he? Quicker through that bank corner there. Maybe because he's got more tire under him because of those slow early laps.
I'm not sure that that's the fastest groove. I'm surprised he's so low. He was below the yellow line there, and normally here at Phoenix you're a little quicker up in the middle of the track. Here's the battle once again. Leighton Reese and John Miller for 7th. Reese has this one under control at the moment by about 5 car lengths.
But this is where Johnny Miller is really quick through there. In that approach to the turn 1, turn 2. Through this little right sweeper, 3, 4, coming up this left-hander. Very difficult to do any real significant overtaking here. You can always look as if you're going to pass somebody, but you really don't have much of a chance. This is the corner that's so important, to come off this corner quickly.
And Miller looked like got a good run into that corner that time. Up the short straightaway to turn 9. Miller from Johnson City, Tennessee. And Leighton Reese from Minnesota.
Well, Leighton Reese held him off well enough there.
Dorsey Schrader putting pressure on his teammate Brian Simo for second spot. Should be 6 to go this time by as they flash by start finish.
Dorsey Schrader certainly is quicker through the bank turns 3 and 4 on the oval track, but not quick enough that he can get alongside Brian Simo. Then from here on, they seem to be very evenly managed.
Let's check in with Derek Daly.
Tom Gloyd has a dilemma here, because I just said to him, I said, Schrader looks faster. He said, he is. Then he walked away with his face bowed to the ground, almost in a huddle by himself, wondering whether he would give team orders to Brian Simo or not.
Looking at the timing monitor there in their pit, no doubt, to take a look at the gap right now between Simo and leader Kendall. It's back to nearly 3 seconds, 2.7 seconds as they come up out of turn 9. Dorsey looking at Simo, trying to find a way to get by him as the laps wind down here at Phoenix. It'll be 61 complete this time by.
Well, of course, this is just exactly the scenario that Tommy Kendall was so hoping to see. That yellow flag obviously helped everybody's tires probably, but of course the guy who was really counting on not having a yellow, Dorsey Schrader, who had really nursed his tires all through the early part of the race, so he's really hoping to come on strong now. He's had that advantage taken away from him by those 2 yellow flags, and now he's having the advantage taken away from him by Brian Simo. If he got around Brian Simo, he would definitely be quicker. Would he be quick enough to catch up with Tommy Kendall and get around him? Tough to call, but he certainly would be closer than he is right now.
And this, the battle for 4th spot. Mike Borkowski trying to hold off Michael Lewis in the 55, who is 5th. Borkowski, the talented young driver out of Connecticut with a Tom Gloyd car. Lewis is a privateer. He's running a Gloyd car that's nearly 3 years old out of his own shops, and he's giving a Gloyd driver all he can handle here this afternoon.
He certainly is. Now, don't forget, Michael Lewis does know this track pretty well. He's done a lot of national racing here, and he's fairly familiar with it. But even so, I mean, he's up against some pretty good guys here. So Michael Lewis putting on a great show. And right behind him, of course, is John Gooding.
Gooding in 6th position in the Mountain Dew car. He's a teammate to leader Tommy Kendall. Kendall continues to be out in front here at Phoenix International Raceway. 5 laps to go. Simo trying to get close and mount a challenge. We'll be right back. The critics are sick the mud off your TV. Tommy Kendall, your race leader. 2 to go next time by. Second is Simo in the 22. Dorsey Schrader third in car number 12, the Ray Bestis car. We go up top on Dorsey's Mustang. Won this race 1 year ago. Doesn't look like he'll make it back-to-back victories at Phoenix, David. Still a few laps for him to make a run here, but doesn't seem to have enough race car time.
He's not significantly quicker than Brian Simo anyway, and I think he's settled for 3rd spot. And of course, Simo, if he gets second, this will vault him into second in the championship, which is one of the reasons he's so anxious to hold on to that 2nd spot.
Mike Borkowski trying to hang on to 4th in car number 4. Michael Lewis in the 55, all over him now into turn 1. On the brakes hard, throwing some smoke out. The white flag will wave next time by for leader Kendall and the rest of the lead group of cars. Borkowski trying to hang on and get a nice 4th place today here at Phoenix International Raceway.
Borkowski and Mike Lewis not that far behind our leading trio, of course, as a result of that last yellow flag, but they've hung on very well in this last dash for the checkered flag. So Mike Borkowski having his work cut out to hold off Mike Lewis.
Leighton Reese and John Miller still fighting for 7th spot. Reese in the green and black car in the Pontiac Grand Prix still holding on over the red, white, and blue PLC machine and Miller. We've got contact on the course a little bit behind.
Jim McGuire
again with one of the picket machines again. McGuire with body damage on the driver's side. Back to the race for 7th. White flag waving for your leaders on main straightaway. Kendall has just taken the white flag, so less than a lap to go here at Phoenix. Reese holds on to 7th over Miller in 8th as they come down. They'll take the white flag in just a moment. Your leader Kendall, meantime, up into turn 3. Last trip around the 1.5-mile road course here, Phoenix International Raceway. Kendall with a good 15 car length advantage over Brian Simo in 2nd spot. Dorsey Schrader in 3rd last time around here this afternoon. It has been a wonderful outing for Kendall, who is on his way to his 2nd consecutive Trans Am victory. Crew Chief Dan Binks watching things from pit road.
On his way for his 3rd consecutive Trans Am championship if these other guys don't step up to the plate a bit.
Could well be the case. Kendall up onto the back straightaway for the final time here at Phoenix. Simo and Schrader right behind him. Well, not right behind him. They're back there a good distance. This battle for 4th, and Lewis has gotten by Borkowski. Lewis has taken over 4th. Kendall off of turn 4, coming to the stripe. The checkered flag over Tommy Kendall. Dorsey almost gets 2nd at the stripe, but I believe Brian Simo hung on for 2nd spot. And Michael Lewis with a last lap pass over Mike Borkowski comes home 4th. A great run from Michael Lewis. And now the battle out of turn 4. Battle for 7th spot, Leighton Reese and John Miller. As we watch Kendall on the cool-down lap, Leighton Reese will hold off Miller and hold on to 7th spot. But some wild action in the last lap here, David Hobbs.
Well, it certainly was. I mean, everybody overtake everybody else. And, of course, the Jim McGuire nearly got involved in the start line shunt here when Dorsey Schrader tried to make it 3 abreast. Then, of course, there was McGuire again in the middle of the road. So Jim McGuire's had a very eventful afternoon.
McGuire has certainly been in a lot of drivers' gun sights here today as Kendall rolls around accepting the applause from the corner workers and the fans here at Phoenix International Raceway. We'll be right back. Tommy Kendall, his 2nd consecutive victory here in 1997 after the opening win at St. Pete. A flag-to-flag victory today for the all-sport Ford Mustang. Derek Daly will talk to our race winner in victory lane in just a moment. Kendall really elated, David, wouldn't you say?
I would say so. Just proving that he got plenty of tire left, too.
Not one, but 2 360s.
Yeah.
Little added bonus for you here on a Saturday afternoon. Tommy Kendall, your race winner, pulls the earplugs, has the helmet off. Let's go to Derek Daly.
Tommy Kendall. Tommy, just tell me, what was more enjoyable, the race or the 2 donuts at the end?
The all-sport, baby. The donuts, I don't know, that was kind of spontaneous there. Never done that before in all this time, but this one, man, I think I told Max Jones on the cool-off lap, the team manager, he could have lapped the field in this baby today. This car was just dynamite. I need to thank the whole crew for working so hard in the off time here. Thank the Lord for a nice, safe race, and say hello to Caroline. Be home tonight. Miss you. Love you.
Now, Tommy, you realize the bleached blonde hair now has 2 wins. Anything significant there?
I said I would tell everyone why I did it. They're going to be a little disappointed because I couldn't think of a good enough reason not to do it, and that's the honest to God truth. I liked everyone's theories on witness relocation program, trying out for the World Championship Wrestling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth is, I just couldn't think of a good reason not to.
The truth is, it matches champagne.
And Tommy Kendall has certainly sampled plenty of that in the last couple of seasons. 2 consecutive Drivers' Championships. He's got a big leg up on 3 in a row. Kendall the winner over Simo, Schrader, and Lewis with a nice run to 4th. Mike Borkowski dropped back to 5th there on the last lap as Lewis was able to get by him. And we'll show you the second 5 here this afternoon at Phoenix in the Trans Am event. John Gooding, Leighton Reese held off John Miller for 7th. Greg Pickett gets back up to 10th, and R.J. Valentine comes home in 9th spot. So Bill Saunders with late contact dropping back to 11th spot. Nice run as we look through the back rest of the field. Jim McGuire, Peter Shea, and Jim Briotti round out the 18 cars who ran today in the Chevy Trucks Desert Star Classic for the SCCA Trans Am cars. We'll be back with the Trans Am July the 6th on TNN Motorsports at Minneapolis, the Children's Grand Prix on Sunday afternoon. We hope you can join us then. We hope you can join us tomorrow as well. Race day at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific will be live from Phoenix International Raceway. For Derek Daly and David Hobbs, I'm Rick Benjamin. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow on Race Day.